both of these cases are under public hearings. So when we have a case, if you have something you'd like to say, please raise your hand. You hear me? Yeah.
Much better.
These are new microphones. So if so, I will call you to the podium. Please give your name and your address, and then say either for or against or whatever for that particular case. And then when that is over, I will close the public hearing, which means we're not talking about it anymore. Okay. The first case is 19-0601, Jim Merritt, Winsong West Builders. Larry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. What I'd like to do is just put up a couple slides here. This first slide is a representation of the former Lotus Elementary School site. And as you can view that slide, I'll give you a little background information on the request. This case by James Merritt, Winsong West Builders, is a request to rezone the school property, which entails about 8 3/4 acres of land from the current zoning of R1A, single-family residential district, to the R1C, single-family residential district. Now, the Waterford School District, as you, the Planning Commission knows, of course, but for those of you in the audience or at home watching this evening, the school district recently, over the last several years, saw clear to dispose of several elementary school sites. And as you may imagine, these properties are within existing single-family residential neighborhoods to serve those communities. So as they are sold, the current zoning holds in that they could have the potential to be redeveloped for additional single-family homes. So the school district was well aware of this when they marketed the properties for sale, and they attracted the current builder here this evening, Mr. Merritt, to take interest in this particular piece of property. Now, a little bit of a background. As I mentioned, the property contains about 8.76 acres. You go to the next slide. Here's a zoning map of the area showing the property highlighted in the red color. Again, single-family R1A, single-family residential district. And the yellow coloring denotes R1C, single-family residential, which is primarily for those smaller lot sizes. Now, it could be argued that some of the lots along Lotus Lake, perhaps, this is the lake area here, are not as small as maybe some of the other lots that you might note in the R1C district. R1A is typically a lot of a minimum size of 9,800 square feet and an average of 70 feet in width. For example, 70 by 140, a typical R1A zone lot equals 9,800 square feet. R1C, however, those types of lots that were platted along the lake areas and in those subdivisions off the lake with lake access may not have had those minimum lot sizes, and they average, through an analysis that we prepared for your consideration, anywhere between 50 feet in width, as small as 50 feet in width, and that might be a typical lot size if you look at some of these lots along, say, Cloverton or even along Gleason in this area. But they range from actually 5,500 square feet in land area to over 15,000 square feet in land area. Here's a larger lot size, for example. So there is some disparity there amongst these subdivisions, some similarities as well. But regardless, the land that the school district has sold to the particular developer, Mr. Merritt and Winsong West Builders, is zoned for residential use. Mr. Merritt is requesting the change from the R1A to the R1C district to allow for a higher density of number of units per buildable land acre. For example, the R1A gray area here allows 4 units per buildable land acre, where the R1C yellow allows for 5 units per buildable land acre. So there's a slight gain, if you will, from the zoning, thus his request to rezone it for that purpose. So at this point in time, you've got the rest of our staff report. Hopefully you've had a chance to review some of the findings there and the factual information that we provided. But I'd like to turn it back to the Planning Commission Chair and perhaps the applicant, if you'd like to say anything on his behalf for his application.
Okay, Mr. Barrett, would you come down to the table, please?
Thank you.
Do you have anything to add to what Larry has said at this point?
And I'll make it brief. I always have something. The reason we're requesting the rezoning is to provide for not the maximum number of units for an R1C district. As a matter of fact, we've worked on this plan for nearly a year. You may remember about a year ago, I came with the concept. We've got it down to 34 units, and we'd be willing to stipulate that it would be 34 units, not 36 or more. I feel very strongly that the R1C zoning conforms, as Larry has said, with the surrounding area, and it would enable us to construct a very high quality community that would include extensive landscaping and value to the surrounding neighborhood, to the township. The minimum building square footage area for R1A is 1,100 square feet. Our minimum building, what we're building is proposing is 1,704 square feet. Very similar house to what we've done at Winsong and Winsong West, off Cooley Lake Road. We have found that the most significant amounts of purchasers in the marketplace today is on either side of the scale. Cambridge Park that we finished, that was Four Towns Elementary, where it used to be. We finished it, just got the sod in, and they sold the last house this morning to a 58-year-old couple, just a couple. The one we sold last week was to a 32-year-old couple with a 3-month-old baby. And that's what we're finding, that it's either the really young people that they don't want that. Younger people that, hey, I got a daughter, well, she doesn't want to do anything. I have a real hard time with that, but her husband, they don't stay at home and fix things and cut the grass. They don't want to do that. They go out and they take kids to soccer games and do that. So that's one segment of the population. The other segment of the population is moi. I don't want to do it either because I've done it my whole life. As a matter of fact, I live in Winsong and enjoy listening to the lawnmowers go by and the snow plows and everything else. And that's the beauty of what we're trying to do. We are proposing to create a community that is virtually a mirror image of like Winsong or Winsong West, that is single-family homes, not attached buildings, single-family homes that look like a typical neighborhood, but have all of the services of a condominium. That is the ground services, the lawn cutting, the irrigation system. And what we do there is we have a singular irrigation system that takes care of the entryway. And in our proposal, and I've got a plan I'd like to share with you. It's not finished, the landscape plan is not finished, but it's certainly, you can see what we're doing. If you've seen Winsong, you can see what we've done. But we make sure that area is irrigated by the association, by a community sprinkling system. And each and every home is then tied into that community sprinkler system. So the association has got one bill that takes care of the irrigation through the whole project. The beauty of that is that if someone is away, like many people are, they take weeks off, their grass is still cut, the irrigation system's still on, so you drive in there, it looks complete like everybody's there. Same as in the wintertime, a lot of people in Winsong are snowbirds, and their driveways are plowed, their sidewalks are plowed, and the streets are plowed. So the services provided are uniform and make positive sure that the community always looks sharp. Nothing is committed to waste. And I'm very happy to say that in the 3 developments that we've done at Cooley Lake Road, not only did they look good, but we've had a great experience during the Great Recession. Not one of those houses, not one of them went into foreclosure. Not one of them was abandoned. But I think it was because of the quality of home we built, and they're loaded. And that they're not cheap, they're $300,000 plus dollar houses. And that's why I'm proposing doing this with the same ideas, putting the money into the landscape, the higher quality of construction with brick, vinyl, and even aluminum soffits that are maintenance-free. As we've done, it attracts a very good element of individuals and families. All the buildings are brick, as I said, and vinyl with a 40-year architectural roof. We have a 95% energy efficient HVAC, which is the heating and cooling system, and Energy Star hot water tank. Just everything's up, way up here. The roadways would be approved by police, fire, and engineering departments of Waterford Township. And that is really about it. I did notice a few things on the site plan that I wanted to point out. All of the sites, our sites, proposed sites to the south and to the east, all of the, if you had lot lines in there, and it's not because it's a common area, if you had lot lines in there, they would virtually parallel those homes, existing homes to the south and to the east. So it really conforms nicely, the same number of units, the same number of houses as you come around the corner, going south and then to the east are compatible with the existing properties. I think in conclusion, I'd just like to point out the decision had to be made. This is why we bought the property. If we build it, we've got to build this because this is what we do. This is who we are. We build a high quality house. And I've had talks with several people and they said, then, just go ahead and build the other side. It's really simple. You're going to get, let's say 20, I can't remember how many density it was here, 28 single-family homes without the landscaping and without the services. They're all going to be individually maintained just like a typical sub. We don't do that. I don't want to do that. I'd love to move forward and create another gem in Waterford Township. And I live there. That's what I want to do it.
I have a question, a couple of questions, just simple questions.
Yep.
Are any of these homes ranch homes? Or are they
It
two-story?
can be a ranch home, or most people, our best one is a ranch home that has a bedroom on top for visitors. And what we do is a suite, actually. On the main level, you've got 2 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms. The upper level has 1 bathroom and inside of the bedroom. It's a suite all by itself. The reason people like that is when they have visitors from out of town, they have privacy. They have their own private bathroom as well as the bedroom, and they don't disturb anybody else.
Do you have basements and do you have garages?
They have 2.5 car garages. They have full basements. We pour the basement walls at 9 feet. So when it's finished off, it's 8 feet.
It's just a question I had.
Yeah, no, it's a good stuff. Yeah, I don't know if anybody here's ever been in one of our houses, but they're not your typical house. They are not your typical house. Again, we have 9-foot basements heights. The first floor level is also 9 foot, which is energy efficient, gives you the volume feeling without having the vaults. Years ago, we had the cathedrals, we had the studios, and we had hot spots and cold spots, and those are things of the past. But we put all granite kitchens in, not just the kitchens, every bathroom has got granite tops, the laundry room has granite tops, ceramic, and hardwood flooring throughout the main floor.
Yes.
Mr. Merritt, in a moment.
I responded.
Did you say 1,700 square feet?
1704.
Okay, that'll be for the entire project. The entire project would be 1,700 square?
The smaller, we built just a 2-bedroom ranch. We've only built 1 2-bedroom ranch in the last 90.
1,440 feet for the ranch came out.
1440 for the ranch. We built 2 of them on the last 96 houses. Even a ranch at 1440 cost as much to build as, I think it's $3,000 difference, because by the time you got the foundation, you've got 1 roof, all you're doing is you're popping another room and a bathroom in it. I mean, it's foolish not to buy it. I mean,
And you did mention that 34 units rather than 36.
Yeah, we will stipulate to limit it to 34. That way it provides us with the open space, whereas your typical subdivision in R1A has no open space at all. This gives us open space throughout. If I can, if you'd like to look at.
That's okay. The other thing would be, would you be in agreement then too with 1704 and 1404?
Yeah.
As well.
We would stipulate to that.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Tony?
First, I'd like to say Mr. Mayor, you're doing a class job.
Thank
I'm
you.
very proud of him doing the development you do in the township.
Thank you.
What's the starting price on
$299.9. They're 300,000.
Now, are you building the suit, or are you just building and putting it for sale?
We usually build 2 or 3 at a time, and then once 1 or 2 of them are done, we take orders to build a suit.
Those basically are models? and
Yes,
people come and
yes.
see them? Okay. Question?
The labor market right now is so tough. I almost hate to build a suit because people say, when's it going to be done? Like the ones in Cambridge, we just put on the market a week and a half with the sod, 2 weeks ago. Because I didn't, with all the rain, we didn't know when the sod was going to come. Before the sod, you have to have the concrete. Do I have to tell you how hard it is? I mean, it's tough today. It's a different ball.
You know, I drove by and looked at that property yesterday, and I like the idea of $300,000. I'm looking, I guess, for the North Harbor there.
Yep.
It's a little, the price isn't up to $300,000, so I think that's gonna,
Well, I think it'll lift the whole community.
do what?
I think it'll.
There'd be a big lift for them.
I think it's a-
There's no
yeah,
doubt
I do.
about it. That was the point I was trying to make. I think it's gonna be very good for the owner.
Another good example is, I don't remember the name of the subdivision, Larry probably would, that abuts Winsong West, on the west side of it. Meadowwood. Yeah. That subdivision had suffered a lot of problems. Price-wise, 150. When we did Winsong, now they're selling it there for 270, 250. I'm talking just a period since 2006. So it's 13 years, but yeah, they've really gone up. And what's happened too is the people that have come in to Meadowwood have cleaned the houses up. I mean, I've never seen so many dumpsters in my life. It's just incredible. You got younger people coming in, getting into a sub, feeling good about the sub. And I think Waterford's done a lot with the school system that before was not a main attraction, but it's becoming more and more recognized as a winner.
I would encourage the residents in that area to look at your different sites that you build, because they have very, very nice
Thank you.
properties that you've done. Just one other question, what about the road on the street out front there? Would you ever consider doing anything?
You mean the public roads?
Yeah, the road out there.
Well, I spoke to the road commission, and what happens, number one, I can't do anything, the road commission, they own them. Like, what would happen in the event of a special assessment district would come in, we've got a good number of feet of road frontage on Harbor. We would contribute our fair share. We absolutely would.
Thank you.
I would not want to ride on somebody else.
Thank you, I think so.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I also think you build a handsome product. I went through one of the houses over on Mary. But that does raise a question. Those facades are exactly alike except for color. You intend to build all these houses looking alike?
Yes. We may have 2 or 3 different siding shades, but it'll be in the same color. What are we looking for? Palette, if you will.
You can't mix up the floor plans at all.
You what?
You can't mix up the floor plans to provide a different facade from house to house. They all have to look alike from house to house.
Oh, no, we vary. We've got different trim pieces. The key of a condominium is to not have so many variations, because then it looks way too busy.
I understand that, but over on Mary, they're exactly alike.
No, they're not.
They're not.
No,
Just color.
The one that's built, and just recently, people moved into. And do you have any idea what that house sold for?
No, I don't.
$350,000. And there hasn't been a house on Mary Street that sold close to $200,000.
Those are great lots.
Until they're sure they're great lots. Good developer, you know, maybe we did it right. But that house is done, and it's got different trim than we're doing on the one next door. And then we've got Ranch Home good-sized ranch homes coming in from that point forward. So we're gonna have variations, but no, they're gonna be different. But in the condominium, they're not gonna be exactly the same.
Do you intend to provide a retention pond for runoff?
Yes. Yes.
Is it a detention or retention?
It is spelled out as a detention pond.
One other question before open it up, before Larry asks. You do not have an entrance to the subdivision from Lotus Drive, do you?
That's correct.
Okay, just from Harper.
Yes. And the reason that is, I think that we did a lot of planning on this. We had one at one point, but the reason we decided against it would create a traffic hazard, I believe, driving through. There's people driving back and forth. I don't think anybody would like that. And I get Scott's shaking his head and.
Public hearing is not open yet, just.
I just couldn't hear you.
Couldn't hear me?
Yeah, that was an important question you asked him.
Okay, my question was, is there an entrance from Lotus Drive? And there is not.
There is
Thank
no.
you.
And
Keeping that loop closed, because I know what will happen. You do too. If I may though, Madam Chairman, if I may, I'll give you an idea of how we're laying this out. So if you have any other questions, it might help you out.
you need to pass it around?
Yeah.
Sure.
While you're doing that, so the grounds are all taken care of as a condominium. And the exterior of the houses themselves, is that the responsibility of the owner?
That's the responsibility of the owner. Roof. That's what the association does. Just give you a typical idea. Windsong
So
West.
their dues cover all of that.
Yeah, what happens with, this is a good example. Windsong West is a combination of detached and attached. You drive through the property ones and recognize it because of the colors of the palette that we used it. Detached, of course, the attached. We've got two different dune structures because the attached units are attached. There's one roof, basically. They have, their dues are much higher, and their maintenance dues are much higher.
We can't hear.
The attached come out to $200 a month. The attached ones come out to about $275 a month. That covers more things, covers more items.
He was just talking about the dues, just because we had a question about there are dues, of course, to cover all of this. Lawn mowing and snow plowing and that's and maintenance of the common area. Okay, Larry?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out to the Planning Commission and to the audience here that the plans that you saw in your packet of information are two density plans. I don't have them on my screen here for comparison for you. I apologize for that, but you're welcome to look at those through our office if you'd like. But those plans basically depict a typical build-out of R1A density of 28 units in a typical platted site condominium layout using all of the property that you see there outlined in red. The other plan is a standardized R1C zone density plan showing 36 units, again, smaller lot sizes because of the allowable for up to 5 units per acre. And that, again, takes up the entire land area except for that small area on the left-hand side, which is a natural wetland area that leads into this area, into the lake, etc. So, now the plan, I believe that Mr. Merritt may have just handed out to you would be his proposal of a development plan. And again, to reiterate, the question for tonight is not for the site planning of this, it is for the rezoning question and the density. It boils down to the number of units. So typically, in R1A, he can build up to 28 units, and in R1C, he would be allowed 36 units. I believe that plan, Mr. Merritt, shows 34. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're stipulated to that.
And I think that plan, as you shared with me earlier, shows not set lot lines like in a typical site condominium, but detached single-family homes clustered closer together to provide more open space for the entire area. Was there also an amenity about a park or some parkland area?
Yes, Larry, back where we're looking at the detention area, there's quite a bit of land between the, let's see, units 31 to 34. There's quite a bit of land behind that, and that would be a calm park. It's not going to have swings and slides or anything like that. It's going to be a park area.
Open space.
The open space would be mowed. As a matter of fact, I had a gentleman call me, representatives of the, calling on behalf of the family, and we're involved in this thing, that have been in this community for a long, long time. They like it. And I said, I'm part of it, it's clear, whatever. And I said, no, I don't need your money, but tell me more. And he said that the grandfather of this family was an outstanding individual, and well recognized in the neighborhood. And I told him that we'd absolutely consider putting a plaque in there, dedicating that use grandfather.
Thank you. So I just wanted to summarize by saying the two plans that you received in your packets were just density comparable plans. And the Planning Commission's charge this evening is to make a recommendation either in favor of the rezoning request to R1C onto the Township Board for their consideration, or a recommendation to deny, knowing that he can develop the property under the current R1A density of 28 units. Now, the Planning Commission cannot require conditions of this approval or the negotiation that you're discussing here this evening. But if Mr. Merritt, the applicant, wanted to offer certain conditions, you could take that into consideration in formulating your motion onto the Township Board for their consideration. And then, as this project would proceed onto the Township Board in possibly 2 weeks, the audience, the members, residents in the area would be able to come to that meeting and again discuss this with the Township Board on the rezoning and the density issues, if that is an item for debate. Following any approval of the rezoning, then site plan review and approval would come back before the Planning Commission, where the staff, planning staff, engineering staff would bring to the Planning Commission more detailed site plans, as Mr. Merritt has shown in the sketch today, that would be submitted formally for the township for review. And again, the Planning Commission would be looking at a number of issues, building setbacks, walkability, open space preservation, those types of things, as well as access. So just wanted to clarify that for the members of the audience here this evening.
Okay, anything else from the Planning Commission at this point? Okay, I will open the public hearing. Now, if you want to come up and speak for or against, please raise your hand and come up. Mr. Mayor, you can stay right there.
Okay.
But your questions will come to us at the end of the public hearing. We will try to address all those questions. We're not going to go back and forth with the builder. Right now, it's a density issue of R1A or R1C. It's a few more homes in R1C in a little different pattern. But we're just talking about this rezoning possibility. Okay, we're not talking about how the homes are going to look. We've had that conversation, but it's just a simply a reason.
Excuse me, but
Yes,
am
sir.
I at least allowed to ask him to please mow the grass?
I did.
That's all good mow.
You mean before he builds?
It looks like a field.
Well, the school district was a good neighbor, and they mowed the whole field. So, I don't know.
It's
Just a
wasteful.
question. I saw what you mowed,
Yeah,
so many feet back from.
I haven't seen it. Let me tell you the truth. I just found out from my son that, on the way here, that the guy's sending us a bill. They want to know, how to build. We need his insurance and so on. So I have not seen it mowed. So whenever I was mowed the last few days.
All they mowed was so many feet back from Hartford. The
Would
school
you like to come up and
Yeah.
here, please?
Sure. Yes. Hi. Hi, Steve.
Never- Hi.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bill
so
Merrill.
you're going to be asking us the questions.
Yeah, yeah. Bill Merrill, 3915 Percy King. Right there. 3915, right? Right about in there, yeah. That was just a practical concern. I know site planning is off the table, but the school district was nice enough, I guess, maybe they didn't have to, but they were nice enough to mow the whole thing for as long as the senior center was closed. And I was by there today, and it's just Harper, I don't know, so many feet back from Harper is all been mowed. And the little bus turnaround there was up to my waist. You know, the grass. So, and that's, I'm sure that's gonna be gone, the bus turnaround
Right, when they
eventually.
develop.
But if you could just please mow it, that would just be wonderful. And had some runoff concerns, but that's not part of this, I guess, right?
Okay,
Okay, that's all.
Assuming that we,
Thank you.
if everything goes forward, you would have an opportunity to speak on that when it's brought back to the planning commission for
Right.
site plan review.
right.
I just was worried about rodents, or, you know, rodents and all. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir, down here, and then I'll go back. Name and address, please.
My name is Bill Holbrook. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Waterford School District. I'm here to support the rezoning. We sold the property to Mr. Merritt. When we go through our, you know what, let me point this out. We're not here in the interest of making sure that we close the property because we've already closed the property. We're here in the best interest of the community. We really support what Mr. Merritt does in this community. One of the planning things that we do when we go to sell the property and so forth, when we look at some of the offers, of course, the price is one component of it, but we also look at what goes into these properties and what kind of product there is and what's beneficial for the neighborhood and the community and ultimately for our school district. And one of the things we liked about the fact that with Mr. Merritt is that we were able to, we don't have to travel to another community to see a quality product. He's able to show a quality product and show us his plans and what he's done already in our community. And that's what's been nice about this, and so we do support it. I do believe when we're talking about the grass or something like that, if you tour any of his sites right now that are complete, they're very nice, beautiful communities, and we're really pleased with the project, and so we're here to support what happens for the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Bill Brown, 6430 Harbor Drive. I'm here to be against the rezoning. We pretty much like it the way it is, but I guess that's our question. If you build homes and everything. But that's just not
You like it open?
open because it's more space to park and then you got four-wheelers and all that kind of good stuff. So.
But it can be rebuilt now, so either 28 homes or 34 homes is what the question is.
28.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Thomas J. Cavalier II, 6445 Lotus Court. You can mark me as adamantly opposed to the rezoning. Also, I want to point out that you have in the lower left-hand corner, the turnaround right there, the Lotus Lake Beach Association uses that for the boat launch right there for the trucks and trailers to park. Also, in the second red mark out you have in the left-hand corner, that's a Waterford Township sewer station. So my question is to you guys, do you guys have any plans to, change the sewer services or anything that's there? If they're going to now put in additional homes, does the township have any plans at all for that sewer station? I mean, right there at Lotus Drive and Lotus Court, I have photos on my phone I can show you right now of the sewer grates lifting out from the asphalt. So that's not getting taken care of. And now we want to add 34. They're called, and I appreciate your wording, they're called single-family homes, but one quick search on Google with Windsong and Cooley Lake Road, they're condos. They might not be attached, but they're condominiums. They're listed on real estate as such under condominiums. So that's what we're talking about here. So I would like to hear from the township, and then I don't know if the township has also expressed any issue with Consumers Energy or DTE about is there going to be any infrastructure upgrades to the power system? I mean, one transformer goes and the whole R1A that you guys are talking about in the lower that was in gray. I mean, they'll always have brown out, down power. So now we're talking to add in more. So I'm opposed to it, and I'd really love for you guys to reach out to us to what you're doing to upgrade the infrastructure, to accommodate these new homes.
It would would that be part of the site plan?
Yes, I
Larry?
appreciate your comments, sir. Yeah, tonight's question is strictly for the rezoning question, and your comments are valid, of course. Whenever we look at an infill development such as this property, about close to 9 acres of land, it's evaluated for both above ground and underground infrastructure capability. So the site plan submittal would be demonstrating how grading, drainage, utilities, stormwater management, all those types of things that you may be concerned about as longtime residents in that area can be addressed. So it's up to the applicant, in this case Mr. Merritt, to submit a site plan that meets the township's requirements. When you talk about stormwater management or storm grates lifting up because of poor storm sewer runoff or capability, those types of systems will be evaluated at the time. So in answer to your question about condominium as opposed to site plan or single-family homes, certainly a site condominium or a condominium development, detached housing in this neighborhood would be different than what is there currently. But I can tell you that for the last 20 to 25 years as a planner for the community, we have not entertained any single-family residential platted subdivisions. All of the single-family detached housing products that have come before the township have been in the form of site condominium developments. For all intents and purposes, they do function as single-family subdivisions. It's just a form of ownership and a form of maintenance, as Mr. Merritt explained earlier. I'm not trying to take a side on that, just trying to explain the difference between the two.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come up and speak for or against? You had all your, yes ma'am.
Thank you for your time. My name is Lori Taylor. I live at 3890 Lotus Drive. I'm the daughter of the gentleman that you spoke of earlier. That's my father. I've inherited his home, which is a few down from my house. Our big concern, and maybe this isn't the time, is the wetlands behind the house that I live in. We have deer that are back there. We have a lot of wildlife that's back there. And a lot of us that are here tonight are concerned about what's going to happen there. You put houses there, what's going to happen to all the wildlife? And power issues, I know that we've already talked about, but I want to know what we're going to do to try to protect what's back there. It's important to us. It's important to our community too. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, ma'am. Just a moment.
I'm Vicki Ford, 3959 Lotus Drive.
Okay, bring the microphone down a little. Thank you.
And I'm very concerned, again, with Lori about the wetlands. There's a lot back there. Is there going to be a buffer zone between the new houses and the old houses that are already there? The road situation is not good. The traffic situation is horrible. You add 34 more homes. You're asking for, I'm afraid, a lot of issues with children and things. They already can't ride their bikes in the streets because of the traffic. I am totally against it.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Robin Quick. I live at 4005 Gleason. I'm right at the corner of Harper and Gleason. Now that's.
And what is your name?
Robin Quick.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's a pump station there. In a wetland. Right at the corner. Yeah, all that's a pump station in wetland. And so they're gonna build houses on that? No?
No, just wait.
Okay, so what are they gonna do with this? Oh, okay, because I can write. Okay, because I can write
Yes, we cannot build in wetlands.
So they're not building on this part?
Build on wetlands anywhere that I
Oh,
know.
this ain't a wetland, this part's not a wetland, this part's a wetland.
This part is all wetlands, nothing's being built there.
Okay.
Nothing.
Because this is not, this is where the pump station's at.
Pump stations over here.
Right, pump station's right
The
here,
rest
and
of
I'm
this-
right here.
Right, and all of this is gonna stay natural.
Okay.
With the exception maybe some manicure grass growing back behind these houses. That's all preserved, that's what we're talking about, all this space.
Because they keep cutting down the fence and going through there, all the lights and stuff. So,
And they've got the fence down here too, I guess.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, we have one more question. Are these houses gonna have beach access?
No,
For sure.
I was told no. In the very far back first.
I am Elaine Lakitas. I live at 3941 Lotus Drive, and we also own 3935 Lotus Drive. I am against the rezoning to the increased number of homes. I just don't think the area will support additional homes. The traffic's terrible, and my other concern is the roads. The roads are a mess, and I can't imagine the infrastructure after construction's done. Who's going to repair that?
Repair the roads or repair
The roads, I mean, you can't drive down Percy King or Lotus Drive now without losing your car. I can't imagine what is going to be the result after 36 homes or 34 homes would be built. But my husband and I are both against the rezoning. If it has to be developed, then develop it at the lower amount of homes.
He did say that if the residents in the area would like to improve the roads, then he's got quite a bit of frontage.
Well, we do
Would
too.
be helping to pay for
Well,
that.
that's not the point. The point is getting bulldozers in and everything else. It's going to destroy those streets.
Well,
But in a special assessment, I don't feel that we should pay a special assessment because the roads are destroyed because of construction.
well, but they're already destroyed, Elaine,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
know they are.
And so that's why the special assessment would have to take place, and we would work with that with this.
No, but I just don't think, if it's going to be developed, I'd rather see the 28 homes rather than 32, 34 site condos. I just don't see the need for that increased number of homes.
The difference, if you heard him say also with the individuals, 28 homes, everybody's responsible for their stuff.
Well, that's fine.
And
Everybody's
with
responsible.
the other, it's all taken care
Well,
of.
what's wrong with being responsible for your own stuff?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Roxy Ann Westlake. I live at 3966 Lotus Drive, and I am opposed to this myself, but I would like to see this map to see where exactly that comes through, because I do have a lot of wetlands back behind my house, and I do have interest in 3962 Lotus Drive.
Okay. Well, you can look at that, but that's really not the issue tonight. The issue is rezoning, not whether he's gonna build in the wetlands. Yes, ma'am?
My name is Joan Ham, and I live at 3904 Lotus Drive, which is right at the end of this proposed complex. I'm against it because of the wetlands, and I have a lot of ducks and muskrats and turtles and frogs back there behind my house. And I don't know quite what that would do to that area. Plus the roads, which I understand is a common problem with the subdivision. But I can't imagine what would happen with all the construction traffic coming in and out, and also the traffic problem of the homes proposed, the ingress and the egress onto Williams Lake Road and onto Airport Road, where there are no traffic signals at this time. I think that would complicate things too.
Thank you. Now, you do know that we cannot build in the wetlands themselves.
I know, but...
Okay, just wanted to make sure you knew that. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Now, some of the questions we had.
Excuse me. Is it possible for just everybody who's opposed to stand up or say opposed? Or do they all have to go up to the podium and say, I'm opposed? Because I think just about everybody in this room that's here for Lotus is opposed.
They have their chance to come up. And, you know, that's what's happening now.
I have a question. I'd like to know why this meeting was held before people got out of work. That's why I'm showing up like I'm at. I don't understand. Most meetings are held at 6:30 in the evening. Why was this done before people had an opportunity to go home, get dinner, and show up?
And why the heck are you guys smiling? Like you knew this. You guys are smiling like this was
Our
planned.
meetings have started at 4:30 for several years. So
all rezoning meetings are done before citizens have a chance to show up.
they seem to show up, sir.
I'm sorry?
They seem to show up. Okay, sir.
I can assure you there's more people out there, because I've done a little talking in that neighborhood. I live right next door to the property, and I can assure you that more people than this are opposed to it. Basically, because it's ignorance, we have not been given any forewarning of any of this.
Some people have, those that are within so many feet of the property.
Well, I live right next door to it. I found out when we sent out the letters 2 weeks ago. I live at 3838 Lotus Drive. I've been there since 1985. It just seems awfully unfair to me to the residents who've been here most of their lives. I went to school here. I came here in 1962. And this is the kind of warning we get. We didn't even know for a long time if the property was offered for sale.
Mr. Marinsky, what about, do you know anything about the pump station and the sewer situation that the people were talking about?
I would say that the capacity that the existing...
I can't hear you. Could you just stand up or come down?
Yeah, the pump station that we're talking about, I'm not concerned about the capacity. That is something that we would look at when site plan is submitted to verify that yes, the existing utilities have the ability to handle the impact of the development.
Okay. And then, Mr. Merritt, there was a question about the turnaround that they park their trailers and stuff in when they're have their boats in the water. It's at the corner of your property as well as on Lotus
It is.
Drive.
It is, and that the turnaround, part of it's in road commission, and part of it is on our property. It's kind of a strange situation. The school, you know, I have no idea the history of the turnaround. It's there, I'm not an Uber there, but I know that the roads are public, and the buses, I believe, use that as a turnaround, as they did on our road up at the top. I guess I don't know what the question is. The question is whether or not to keep the roads and turn around.
Right, I think so.
I don't think you can park. I don't think it's wise for people to park their trailers or buses on people's property.
Well,
I mean, it makes no sense to me. As a proprietor of the land, I'm sure everybody would want to have their property and have a boat trailer on it as well. During the course of the at this time, and I don't know how long they've done it, I'm sure when the school was there when they did it, but I have no problem that we're not chasing anybody off until we develop the property. And I think if I may just make a couple comments, the wetlands, and we're not talking about it, but I've demonstrated to several people.
Talking to the microphone more, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. But I've demonstrated to anybody that took the time to look at this, as you say, you can't build in the wetlands. And you shouldn't, even if you could, you should. You're stupid if you did, but our plan shows a long distance away from any wetlands.
One other question was upgrading the electric, gas and so on in the area. I think that would happen.
Yes,
You'd have underground.
Ours is going to be completely underground. DTE, through their engineering department, they build the infrastructure. We pay for it. Taxpayers don't pay for it. The other owners don't pay for it. But they build it. We don't build it. They build the infrastructure. Many times they change transformers around. My experience has been they err on the side of having overcapacity than undercapacity. I know in the case of the subdivision that Larry and I talked about, Cooley Lake Road, they had blackouts after blackout after blackout. When we did Windsong West, the whole system was upgraded, the entire DTE system. And as a result, there's no blackouts over there anymore because of all of our underground. Everything's changed. But that isn't up to us. I mean, I'm not trying to be a hero. I have nothing to do with it. It's strictly Detroit guys. And the Consumers Power, they have their stations. They determine all of that. They determine the load, everything. It's not up to us.
Okay. In the meantime, you'll mow the lawn.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I know it's just done. And,
I haven't been back there.
Yeah, they just called to get it built tonight. But yeah, I mean, I do want to address that. The property, I guess I've got two final comments. And I know people love to see that as a wide open space. I understand that. It was on the market for a long time, and frankly, I'm surprised that if they really liked it that much, they didn't buy it and keep it as a park. But since we got involved and engineered it, we put the soil borings in to determine the drainage and everything else. The property will be developed, whether Jim Merritt develops it, or Bill Smith, or whomever. The property is going to be developed. When you develop a piece of property, bad things happen. Some trees that you love have to come down for storm sewers. This is going to be 100% direct about it. Bulldozers have to come in. If you're building one house, bulldozers and excavators come in. That is part of the American industry of home building. Now, whether it's 34 or 28, you're still going to have the same amount of activity for the infrastructure going in. The number of houses does not determine how many bulldozers or how many excavators are going to come in to put the water and sewer. It's going to happen. During that time period, you can't cut the grass because the place is going to be excavated all over the place. Prior to that time period, I'll make sure the lawn is cut. But once they start into doing the property, the trees and everything else, you can't cut it. It's impossible.
In rezoning, I just wanted to talk to the audience. We only recommend to the township board on rezoning or not rezoning. It is up to the township board. Would that be 2 meetings? One they introduce it?
Yes.
And then one they vote on it? So our recommendation only goes to them. We cannot rezone here at the planning commission. We can only hear you and recommend. And you still have a voice at the township board. And how do they find out about the meetings? It'll be on the website?
Yes, following tonight's recommendation on this case by the planning commission, the case will be brought before the township board. I believe it would be Monday the 24th. Monday the 24th at 6 p.m. would be the first time the township board would hear this case for what we term as first introduction purposes. We introduce the case as a staff. Again, this type of discussion occurs. The residents that are attending tonight and any others are welcome to attend the meeting to voice their concerns either for or against. And so it's a highly vetted process. We notified everybody 2 weeks ago through the state statute, the requirements for public notification, advertised in the open press, mailed to everybody within 300 feet of the property. So we've been holding public hearing meetings for quite a number of years now at 4:30 in the afternoon. So when we have sensitive cases that we encourage people to attend to hear more information about, we've had good attendance. So I'm sorry some people weren't able to make it here tonight, but if you have any questions, please feel free to call our office in Development Services and I can give you more information.
But there will be on the website. They can look on the website for both of the meetings.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're here to rezone this property, one way or the other. School district says, Mr. Mayor, it's getting built one way or the other. Am I right on that?
Yes, sir.
So the question is, it's going to be 28 or 30? 26 or 30? That's the question.
Mr. Merritt's request is for consideration of an increase in density of up to 34,
This property is going to
36
be built,
units.
if he decides to sell to somebody else, it's still going to be, right?
Yes.
Really, that's the question. How it's going to be what the zone is, right?
Yes, sir.
Comment more so. I respect the concerns of everybody here. To the one gentleman, I know you took offense to the smiling, and it's not that we take pleasure in your concern about this development. It's that every time we have something like this come before us, we hear the same concerns. People that are used to having an open field nearby their house that they've taken advantage of for free, don't want to lose that privilege. And some of the concerns that came up, somebody was concerned about drainage, capacity of the storm sewer. Right now, there's, being a former school site, there's not really a organized drainage system. If you look at the site plan, Mr. Mayor's proposing a rear lot drainage system, a detention pond, with a 4-bay, and that's all set up to mitigate the effects of having additional impervious there. So it should be no worse than it is now, and it may even be better because it's all being controlled and routed to a pond and outlet at a sustainable rate. Then a lot of people were concerned about the loss of the natural area, wetland, and wildlife. And as people who were able to see his proposed plan, it's ironic because the way of the development, but actually with the fewer number of homes, you actually wind up with less common open space if you compare the two. Whereas with this development that I'm looking at, he's got a large open space area to the west end of the property. So ironically, with more homes, you wind up with more open natural land in clumps. The traffic and the conditions of the roads, I get that, but that's an existing problem. And at least now you would have more residents to share in the cost of the solution to that. And one thing I'm thinking of with the idea of a condo type development as opposed to individual lots, not only do you have to worry about having a bad neighbor who doesn't keep their stuff up. I mean, with the condo arrangement, everything would be maintained uniformly at the same time, and you don't have to worry about everybody having 8 different landscaping contractors and snow plows in the wintertime buzzing through the neighborhood to get to these sites. It'll all be maintained by one service, presumably. So I get it, nobody wants, not my backyard, it's a common refrain, but as developments go, I think this is probably one of the better things you could hope for to go in.
Just wanted to add that I agree with Ms. Kim Collin as much as Mr. Merritt has proven. Three times in our community, I think you've proven the type of development you put in.
Three condominium developments, yes. detached
I
condominium.
remember, I think it was the last one that you built, I watched it from beginning to end, I was amazed, and you didn't put, if I recall right, you didn't put a home on the one across from the gas station because of the noise. Somebody convinced you to put one on it, and they bought it.
Yep.
You're that enthralled.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
That's all. Yes? I move to forward a favorable recommendation in case number 19-06-01 onto the Township Board to rezone the subject property of this application from R1A Single Family Residential District to R1C Single Family Residential District based on the following findings and conclusions under the ordinance approval recommendation guidelines, which are based on assessment of the information and statements presented in this case by or for the township staff, applicant, and members of the public, and with the following conditions as offered by the applicant. You said 1440 to 1704 square footage, correct? 34 units rather than 36. Detention pond, and no beach access. No beach access?
No beach access. We've done as a regular subdivision, I've read all of the recorded part of the documents. That property has beach access, but in our condominium documents, it does not.
Thank you. Did I miss anything?
Did everybody hear that? What Mr. Garrett just said about beach access? The property right now has beach access on our
Subdivision.
but the subdivision itself will not.
Thank you. Following findings. Requested zoning change is consistent with the adopted master plan as amended. Requested zoning change is consistent with existing uses and zoning classifications of properties within the general area of the subject zoning lot. The subject zoning lot is physically suitable to provide all dimensional and site requirements for the range of uses permitted under the proposed zoning classification. The tentative development in the general area of the subject zoning lot is consistent with the requested zoning change. The township and other agencies do possess the capacity to provide all utility and public safety services that would be required for the range of land uses permitted under proposed classifications. The requested zoning change and the resulting range of uses permitted under the proposed zoning classification will not result in any significant environmental impacts. The proposed zoning amendment will not be detrimental to the public interest.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, did you mention that Mr. Merritt offered 34 units as opposed to 36?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Any questions or comments on the motion?
I'd like to make a comment. I hope that Mr. Merritt actually builds this and this doesn't fall into someone else's hands with an RMC zoning.
God willing.
Pardon me?
God willing.
Willing.
Madam Chair, for that reason, I don't know Mr. Merritt, but I would be interested in maybe having a condition on the number of units and the minimum square footage. Maybe you said the smaller unit was 1,100 square feet.
Right, no. He's got that.
I already have both the branch we spoke of and
I think 1404 is it?
1440.
and 1705.
1704.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. If there's no other questions or comments from the commissioners, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimously.
Can I leave the table now?
See you in November.
We have another item on the agenda, so people, please go out. Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt?
Everybody uses it. I love it. Use it for that. I love it. Use it for jumpers, right? That's why it's so fast. I wish they took it all out.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is case number 190602. It's a vacant land located on the south side of Hatchery Road. We have a presentation by Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This application is for a rezoning for 2 vacant properties on the south side of Hatchery Road, west of Crescent Lake Road. The properties are roughly 8.65 total acres together. Only 6.06 of it is usable as it fronts up to Clam Lake. Across the street, the properties themselves right now are zoned PL for public lands. They've been this way since 2005, when since 2009. The township had acquired these properties in 2005 with the intent of establishing a community center. Since that time, no progress has been made. The township has now established a purchase agreement with a private citizen. As part of the zoning ordinance for public land, the properties are permitted to revert to their original zoning as long as that zoning corresponds to a master plan designation for an adjacent property. At this time, the single-family homes to the north would correspond with the R1A zoning that was previously held by these properties. And it would be the staff's recommendation this be rezoned back into that designation. The conditions on this would be that this would make perfect sense for the area. There are single-family homes both directly across the street and adjacent to the east. The multiple family to the west would not be adversely impacted. Clam Lake would not have any additional impacts. This would revert back to 2 single-family homes unless the applicant or the subsequent owner decided to split the properties. At that point, they would still need to go through a traditional split application and have another chance to review it. So is there any questions that the board would have for me?
Good for you. Question for you. How many lots could this board of enforcement?
I believe the proposed owner came in, they spoke about splitting into 4 lots. Initially, it looks feasible, but until we have a final plan, we won't know for sure. But it looks like they're aiming for 4 separate lots, all with direct frontage off of Hatchery.
He was looking at me, so. Yeah, Ben's making
I move to make a favorable recommendation for rezoning or it's not rezoning.
It's rezoning from
Case
R1A.
number recommendation.
recommend that.
Recommendation, yes, case rezoning. Favorable recommendation for case number 19-06-02, Township. From public lands to R1A single family residential.
Second to that motion.
meeting on June 25th at 4:30 p.m. And I will have that agenda finalized here in the next few days. Get it posted to the township website. Right now, we only have one case, and it would be for the Telegram project for that necessary special approval for climate controlled indoor storage, that property that was recently rezoned from C2 to C3. So I'm moving forward on that, Scott and I and our staff, so we'll have everything together, and I'll send an email with particulars, and if you have any questions, feel free to call.
Thank you